Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please take your seats. Our program is about to begin. To read our land acknowledgement statement, please welcome the Dean of the UIC School of Law, Nikki Booth.
Good morning. In the spirit of building a better future and healing, I would like to take a few moments to acknowledge that the University of Illinois Chicago resides on the traditional territories of the three fire peoples, Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. This area was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for more than a dozen other Native tribes. What's more, the state of Illinois is currently home to more than 75,000 tribal members, and the Chicagoland area is currently home to one of the largest and most diverse urban Native communities in the United States. We recognize that Indigenous peoples are the traditional stewards of the land that we now occupy, living here long before Chicago was a city and still thriving here today. As we work together today on these territories and in the year ahead, we must remember our responsibility, especially as a land-grant and ANAPC, HSI, and MSI institution, to find ways to right the historic wrongs of colonization and state violence, and to build bridges with the support Indigenous community struggles for self-determination and sovereignty.
And now, please welcome the Chairman of the University of Illinois Board of Trustees, Don Edwards. Once again, please welcome the Chairman of the University of Illinois Board of Trustees, Don Edwards.
Thank you, Sparky. What a welcome. Appreciate it. Getting ready for a big basketball game coming up here against crosstown rivals, so good to see that enthusiasm. Let's go Flames. The excitement that's palpable in this room today is entirely justified. For those of you who don't know, I am Don Edwards, the chairman of the University of Illinois Board of Trustees, and I couldn't be more pleased and excited to be on campus at UIC today. We are here, of course, to introduce the next leader, the next chancellor of this great university. I'm so pleased that you all have taken the time to join us as we introduce Dr. Lynn Miranda, who will be the 10th Chancellor of the University of Illinois, Chicago. Welcome to Chicago, Dr. Miranda, and welcome to UIC, one of three incredible University of Illinois system universities. A truly great urban university dedicated to serving this dynamic global city and the whole of our state. Dr. Miranda was chosen from a very strong field of diverse candidates. The interest in leading UIC was incredibly high. That is a reflection of this ascendant university, both its present excellence and its potential, but also of the city of Chicago. Although I came to the University of Illinois from New York almost 40 years ago, Chicago is now my home. I have lived on the same block for 30 years, and I am unashamedly biased. I can say without reservation that this is one of the world's great cities, and a city with the potential to become even more. One of the key ingredients to a great city is a transformative public university, one that can offer excellence in education, research, and engagement, and do it at a scale that ripples through our entire community. That is UIC. Based on her track record, I know Mari Lynn will bring passion and determination to this job, and a strong spirit of exploration and of collaboration with all of the constituencies at UIC. Our board will take up her appointment next week, but I can already say that I am truly looking forward to working together to continue to elevate UIC, to keep it on its upward trajectory it has enjoyed in recent years, and build on the many ways that this university serves its students, its community, and our many partners here in Chicago and the state of Illinois. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the president of the University of Illinois System, Tim Killeen.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Chairman Edwards. Don, I am delighted, in fact, I'm giddy that you're all here with us today to celebrate this important, actually epical occasion for UIC. Greetings to you all. I'm thrilled that you can join us in what is a truly amazing day for UIC and the whole University of Illinois system. Before I begin, let me express my gratitude on this Veterans Day to all of you with us today who are veterans, and to all our veterans across the U of I system. Your service to our country is both vital and deeply appreciated, the purest form of public service and patriotism, and a source of inspiration. So let's give our veterans a round of applause. And happy homecoming, everybody, at UIC. What a beautiful coincidence, or, with the moon in the right quadrant and the stars as where you need them to be. Let me also recognize everybody else who's here, the deans, the directors, the cabinet members, and all the faculty and students who gave us such a rousing welcome. To the next Chancellor of the University of Illinois Chicago, Dr. Lynn Miranda. Whoa. So, and Dr. Miranda, if the mascot and the music and the fanfare didn't make it abundantly clear, we are all extremely happy right now to welcome you to UIC and to the University of Illinois system. Welcome. Dr. Miranda comes to UIC with, as Chair Edwards has already noted, an absolute passion for the mission of public higher education. Excellence and opportunity, equity and inclusion, all provided at scale with deep generosity to leave no one behind and with absolute integrity. She understands the need to prepare our citizens to seize opportunities available in the new 21st century knowledge economy, and how imperative it is that our city and our state have both the diverse workforce and citizenry and the ideas, the research base to power that economy. As provost at Notre Dame, she made access and equity priorities. Through her leadership, Notre Dame in 2021 enrolled the most diverse first-year class in its long history. Congratulations, Mari Lynn, on that. That sits well at UIC. She also led the university's successful academic response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all know how tricky that was, incidentally embracing the University of Illinois' own saliva-based shield technology. Previously, she was provost at Rice University, another world-class university. And prior to that, Dean of the School of Natural Resources and Environment at the University of Michigan, where I taught for a little while a long time ago and hold in deep admiration. Dr. Miranda's research focus, too, is an ideal fit for UIC and the U of I system. She is the current faculty director of the Children's Environmental Health Initiative at Notre Dame. It's coming to UIC, working to understand health and educational disparities. The initiative's work has, among many other real-world impacts, helped shape the CDC's approach to combating childhood exposure to lead. Dr. Miranda also brings incredible enthusiasm for and understanding of UIC's amazing health science enterprise and its clinical operations. She holds or has held faculty appointments in pediatrics at Duke University, Indiana University, Michigan, and the Baylor College of Medicine, looking after and caring for children and their futures. So if you have been paying attention so far, here we have an individual who has demonstrated exceptional, courageous, visionary leadership in higher education, deep scholarship with impactful research, an authentic passion for students, faculty, staff, teaching and learning across all disciplines, arts, humanities, social sciences, and the STEM fields. And I am personally so thrilled to be able to say a research and scholarly focus at the very nexus of education and human welfare, diversity, environment, and health, which are our collective existential challenges for our future and that of our students. And if that were not enough, that list, she's also an accomplished beekeeper. And I know firsthand from a certain honey jar that came to my attention, and with a wonderful family that you will all get to know. I must also add, in closing my introductory comments, that she brings another quality with her from South Bend that will really serve us well at UIC. She's known for being relentless. All the references attested to this. And I'm certain that she will be absolutely tireless in advocating for UIC, for its students, its faculty, its staff, and for the city and the state it serves. And I confess, as president, a little trembling in my boots on this score. But one more important point. With this wonderful appointment, the U of I system also continues our tradition of elevating strong people and women of color to critical leadership positions in the academy. And with that, I'm absolutely delighted to yield the floor to the next Chancellor of the University of Illinois Chicago and Vice President for the University of Illinois System, Dr. Lynn Miranda.
I always have to lower the microphone. Thank you, President Colleen and Chairman Edwards, for those very kind remarks. I also want to thank the search committee, the President's Cabinet, and the board for bestowing on me this amazing opportunity to serve as the Chancellor of the University of Illinois Chicago. I can't stop smiling. Thank you as well to all of those who worked so hard to organize today's event. It takes a village to raise a chancellor, and I am grateful to all of you. Given that this public announcement and celebration are occurring before the board has officially voted, I just want to say, Chairman Edwards, no pranking. No pranking. So, I also want to offer my thanks and honor all of those who have served in the military. We celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th because in 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, a cessation of World War I hostilities was declared. So here we are at almost exactly that moment of the 11th day, the 11th hour, the 11th month. And that is a moment well worth honoring. So for those of you who are veterans in the audience, and I know there are some, I already know there are some, thank you for your service to our country. You know, at UIC, we have a special relationship with veterans as we began in 1946 on Navy Pier with an emphasis on accommodating the influx of returning veterans seeking to take advantage of the GI Bill. So again, to all veterans, we thank you. These are complicated times in higher education. We find ourselves thinking about affordability and access for our students, the transition to value-based care in our healthcare systems, COVID-19 fatigue for faculty, staff, and students, mental health crisis amongst young people, and more broadly even. But even in the face of this list, there is clear evidence of the tremendous value of a college degree and the value that our research programs contribute to society, even if the public doesn't always appreciate that. This can be especially, that lack of appreciation from the public can be especially frustrating if you think about everything the Academy accomplished this past 2.5 years. So we delivered on our educational mission under the most challenging of circumstances, which required creativity from everyone. We contributed to the development of vaccines, testing, therapeutics, HVAC interventions, aerosol science underlying transmission dynamics, social coping, the list goes on and on. And we did all of this while social justice protests were sweeping the country, climate change was making itself forcefully felt, and political divisiveness made making progress that much more challenging. So if you remember one thing from my remarks today, students, faculty, and staff, please remember this. You did something really hard and truly amazing these past few years, and I am in awe of you for that. So what can we do to reshape public perception of higher education? I believe with my whole heart and my whole mind that the future of higher education rests with public institutions. So what do we do here? So what we do here at UIC together can be transformative. I have been thinking about 3 strategic questions for higher education. Please know these are early thoughts, and I am so looking forward to engaging with all of you on these questions as we try to determine what makes sense generally and what makes sense specifically for UIC. The first strategic question is, how can we use our COVID and other experiences to inform how we deliver on our educational mission for undergraduate, professional, and graduate students? In all of our educational programs, we should have a dual goal for our students. We want them to lead meaningful lives, and we want them to be able to compete globally. COVID forced us to run thousands of educational experiments from which we learned an awful lot. And now we need to be deliberate in considering what innovations should we retain? What additional experiments should we be running? How can we leverage educational professionals from across campus, including the Center for the Advancement of Teaching Excellence and all of our faculty and graduate students in this work of determining the way forward for education? In addition, we need to provide the kind of supportive environment that empowers all students and makes it possible for all students to prosper. Here I'm talking about the wraparound services that students require, especially those from underserved backgrounds, that builds their confidence, improves their outcomes, and gives them a deep sense of belonging. But I'm also talking about directly addressing the mental health crisis, especially amongst young people. The second strategic question, how can we come together to tackle the most challenging issues confronting society? I would argue that our world faces at least 3 existential threats: climate change, inequalities, and erosion of democratic institutions. Tackling these issues requires interdisciplinary teams. There is no better place to attack these issues, or there is no better place to tackle these issues than here at UIC. We have strong faculty and graduate programs. We have a large pool of capable, talented, and engaged undergraduates. And we have a public ethos with a deep and enduring commitment to social justice. Our social science colleagues have taught us that people are not moved by facts as much as they are moved by art, music, storytelling, narratives, nudges, influencers. So tackling these problems really requires the broad sweep of the academy and deep engagement with the community. The third strategic question, how can we connect our work to stakeholders broadly? Without question, we have already, or we are, transitioning to a knowledge economy. So how do we help the Midwest transform in perception and in reality from the Rust Belt to the entrepreneurial heartland? I grew up in Detroit, and I am tired of people referring to my beloved Midwest as the Rust Belt. So we need to transform that. UIC, I would argue, can play a crucial role in helping to create an innovation ecosystem in Chicago, across the UI system, and in the Midwest. The Discovery Partners Institute and the Illinois Innovation Network are huge assets in this ambition. We need to lead the way on bringing everybody along on this transition to the knowledge economy. This includes entrepreneurs across Chicago and Illinois more broadly working to make their ideas a reality, high school students thinking about their future, alums who are retooling for a new job, public health departments trying to craft data-driven approaches, patients seeking world-class healthcare. At all of these important moments in people's lives, we want them to immediately think about what UIC and UIC Health are doing on these issues, and we want them to know how to connect with and access the resources of the university and engage with us as partners. And we want them to feel that UIC and UI Health welcome their engagement. If we can collaboratively move from asking these questions to developing true strategies, it positions us to have a clear, compelling, succinct statement about the value of higher education. A UIC education creates the ability to compete globally and lead meaningful lives. UIC researchers are attacking the most intransigent problems and creating reasons for hope. UIC is a resource for everyone and not just the elite few. Not only will we have a succinct statement about the value of higher education, we will have done good things for the world, and we will have lived our mission to provide the broadest access to the highest level of intellectual excellence. No question, these are challenging times for higher education. At UIC, we will continue to embrace those challenges as opportunities. The future of higher education will be determined by public institutions. The history, the mission, and the demonstrated ability to do really big things all suggest that UIC is uniquely well positioned to meet these challenges now and in the future. UIC will be part of a transformation. Everyone in this room, every member of the UIC community will be part of this transformation. I am so excited to be joining all of you on that journey. Thank you. So the next step is that Javier is going to put on his best Alex Trebek or Ken Jennings persona, and we're going to have a little conversation together.
Very good. So I want to see where, yeah, it looks like I'm live now. So Marilyn, first of all, thank you for your inspiring words. Thank you for your positive energy. Thank you for bringing that perspective to the table. And I know we always say it, that UIC is such a social justice focused university. And to hear you say those words again, to see that from the outside, you're coming in, you're seeing that, and you see the potential and the upside we have. I think there's tremendous inspirations in everyone's today, and tremendous sense of confidence that we have a great leader in you, and we're ready to work with you. So thank you for those inspiring words.
Together.
Yes. But now we're going to try to be a little bit more on a conversational style, and we wanted to get to know our new chancellor a little bit more in a way that it's not so formal. So more relaxed, showing a side of Marilyn that I think it's very welcome. She's such a person, an approachable person. Our students had a wonderful time with her. They really, really, really love you. So why don't we start with an easy question?
Okay.
It's an easy question. I think 30 seconds will suffice.
It's
So
1812.
yeah, no, but it's tell us your story.
Okay.
So easy question,
Yep.
succinct. So
Yeah. So I'm the first American-born child of an immigrant family. My mother and my father and my three brothers all came to the United States for my dad to pursue his graduate work. I grew up in the city of Detroit, and I grew up in Detroit. There are lots of people who will tell you they're from Detroit and they're from the suburbs. I grew up in
that doesn't happen in
Detroit.
Chicago.
I grew up in Detroit, and from a really early age, I always wanted to do environmental work. I had the good fortune to be able to go to college at Duke University, and honestly, I picked Duke because they gave me a full scholarship, and that was what I needed. Our family didn't have we didn't have a lot of resources available. Although my father was a college professor, and my father passed in 2017. I would give anything for him to be here. So I grew up in this big family, my mother, my father, my three brothers, myself, my grandmother, her two sisters, my cousin, his wife, and their three kids. So that's who I had dinner with every night. It may contribute to my ability to work under any circumstances. It doesn't matter what the noise level or the distractions are. So I went to Duke, then I went to Harvard to get my master's and PhD, returned to Duke and spent a long time on the faculty there. But less about my career and more about I'm married. I have three great kids. They're all grown. It's amazing to me to think about that. So I have a 29-year-old son who is in real estate and who has already figured out houses that I should be looking at here in the area. I have a 27-year-old daughter, Marielle. My son's name is Thompson. Marielle, who is, she is a research analyst for Mount Sinai School of Medicine, and my youngest, Viviana, is a senior at Duke and is a chemistry major on a pre-med track. And everyone in my family is way funnier than I am. So it's so they're. For me, when all of my family is together and we're all going to be together at Thanksgiving, it'll be, it's like being in a sitcom, except I'm the audience and they're entertaining me. And if you ever want to see something really funny, you have to ask my son to do his imitation of me, which involves him miming that he's putting on a backpack on both shoulders and uttering the phrase, work, work, work. I do know how to have fun. So I'm very family oriented. I like to read. I like to spend time outdoors. We live on a farm, which is an hour and a half away from here. So that's another great thing about UIC. We'll be able to keep the farm. And I love to dance. I love music. I love all of the great musicians that come out of Chicago and Detroit. Still love my hometown, so I'll stop there.
Very nice, and I have to say that you mentioned that one of your daughters, your younger one, is pre-med. So you mentioned that even before you were coming to UIC, this was on her radar screen.
Yeah, no, she's really happy that I'm going to be chancellor because she really loves the medical school here. So
we're going to have to get Dean Rosenblatt to start recruiting soon. So
there we go.
Very good. No, but I know that when you talk to anyone at UIC, and you and I talked about this, there's a reason why people came to UIC. I mean, everybody you can ask, their students or faculty, they'll tell you it's just the institution resonates with them. There's something about the mission. There's something about the institution that really, really people identify with. But we wanted to know, when was that moment for you, and when you say why UIC is the place I want to go, what was that moment?
I don't know that I can point to a particular moment so much as it felt, you know, in music, when there's a crescendo, when the music is building, at the very beginning of it, you don't realize that's the moment that the crescendo has started, but all of a sudden, as the crescendo has advanced, there was a moment before. So it was just, there was, first of all, the mission statement is so succinct, direct, and phenomenal, right? To provide the broadest access to the highest levels of intellectual excellence. This notion that, I see it so many places, the idea that, well, you can have broad access or you can have excellence, but here at UIC, and in the Illinois system more broadly, we believe that you can do both of those things at the same time, that's so much our mission. And then as I learned more and more about the university, both from people who are here in the university community and people who have connections in one way or another, you just heard over and over again about that commitment to the social justice mission of the university. And I've reached this age in my life where it's so important to me that all of the work that I do be meaningful, right? That it can have an impact, that it is, that those hours that you spend help to create a better community, a better university, a better city, a better state, a better world. All of that is so important to me. And for those of you, the students who are here, you'll find that that sense, even as committed as you are now, it will accelerate over the course of your lifetime. It will deepen over the course of your lifetime. So it wasn't so much a moment as it was these incredible notes of music coming in from everywhere, building up this music that just absolutely resonated with me. And now that I've had the chance to spend a little bit more time with the deans and the vice chancellors and also with students, you know, it convinces me even more. I hope you will have forgiven me my familiar use of the we, but I feel the we with all of you very much.
Well, I can tell you that you have nothing to apologize for. That's the one thing that I think everybody identifies. Becoming a we are your faculty, we are your students, we are your administrators. So please don't think you have to apologize. You're already our leaders. So we can have you apologizing for that. Not at all. But now I have to say that you have talked about your family. You have talked about their interest or their really excitement about you coming to Chicago, but they're no strangers to higher ed. I mean, you have had them throughout many years in your career, and they have seen you rise in these positions in administrations and lead. So now, what are their thoughts about being the chancellor of UIC? This is a next step in your career, but what are their thoughts of this?
Yeah, I don't think either they or I think of it as the next step in my career. I think they think of this, and I do, as the step in my career. My kids are so, I feel like a loser. I keep talking about how great my family is and how much I love them, and none of them were able to come today because they had prior commitments. So my daughter Viviana had already looked at the medical school here, and so when I talked with her about it, she said to me, "That is absolutely the right university for you, Mom." My daughter Marielle is thinking about doing a Dr. PH in public health, and there's a program here at UIC which is at the very top of her list. And her response to me was, "That is exactly the right university for you, Mom." And my son just got real busy finding out where I should be living. They're all working on restaurants because I like food a lot, and so do they. My three children it's so clear to them that this is the right place. And I've been married for 32 years. That's worth That's something, right? And my husband is retired, but he spent 32 years working for the Environmental Protection Agency. And he really sees he sees the excitement that I feel about this opportunity, and I also think that he sees the resonance between what he's heard me talking about for decades now, right? It's so great to have people in your life who've been with you for decades. He's heard me talk for decades about social justice issues and providing access to education to the broadest sweep of students, and he really recognizes how much UIC resonates with what I want to be doing with my life, and they all feel joy for me, which I really appreciate.
Well, I can tell that we see that joy in you of joining us and seeing what now the university represents for you and what you represent for the university. It really is talking about, and I know Dr. Groden, she didn't pay me to say this, but a lot of the research infrastructure that we have and the growth that we have had, it really has driven UIC's stature in many ways, as well as our students, but our research infrastructure sometimes surprises people on where we are, so you're going to pay me for that later, so I'm sure. But I have to say that you yourself are an incredible scholar. You have an incredible career in research. You're the founder and continue to lead the Children's Environment Health Initiative. And as President Kalin said, it's coming to UIC. Yep. But it's a research, education, and outreach program committed to fostering environments where all people can prosper. And your research seeks to understand how the environments shape health and well-being among children and those from low-resource communities. I mean, when I read that, before you tell us more about your research, I think it's such, President Kalin spoke about Venn diagrams at the university and what it represents. It just hits the mark at UIC. It's something that if Dr. Bright was here, he would tell you that is what we're about in our health system, what we are in the College of Medicine, what we are in our health sciences. So we're thrilled to have you, but tell us more about what is your research, and tell us more about what drives you on it, and that excites you about it.
Yeah, well, thank you for those kind words. Well, I'll start with what drives me on it. What drives me on it is I can't stand to not have the questions that we're asking go unanswered, because those questions are all about how do we do a better job of providing the environments that allow all children, no matter what neighborhoods they live in or what schools they go to, how do we make sure that all children can prosper? So that's what drives me. I think about it a lot. It's parallel processing back there a lot. So I'm a statistician, and I am what is referred to as a Bayesian spatial statistician. Did you fall asleep yet?
No. I'm an economist, so you're keeping me awake.
So what that means is that for every piece of data we collect, we attach a spatial location to it, and then we use spatial location to join different data sets together via shared geography, and we build these big, complex spatial data architectures. And when you do that, you're able to connect data sets that previously were unconnected, and you put all of that together, and you can ask different questions. You can use different methods. And it is, the work is hard because it's technically complex, but the work is hard also because all of the problems that we work on are situations where either through social stressors or environmental exposures, we are putting kids at a disadvantage. And so the work is meant to elucidate what those relationships are between the stressors, the environmental and the social stressors, but also figure out, okay, if we know that's what the relationship is, if we know that's what's happening, what are the interventions that we can put into place to stop it? So we're not just interested in describing it, describing these inequalities, describing these inequities. We're interested in describing it, identifying solutions, engaging, and our research, we engage with the community all along, and then engaging with policymakers and decision makers about how can we take everything that we're learning and create better environments for children.
Well, I have to say, I mean, when you think of a homecoming for your research at UIC, we couldn't have hoped for a better time. This is incredible because that's what we hear. I can tell you that there's a lot of faculty here who are already thinking about, how am I going to get into that grant? How am I going to connect? And I see Jerry Krishna over here saying, Miles Square has to be connected with that. So this is exciting.
You're already on my radar now.
So no, this is very nice. Now, I have to say that I do have something that you're going to be able to help me with. I am very fearful of bees.
Oh.
Very fearful of bees. But I do know that you have not only, I mean, you have hundreds of thousands of bees in your farm. So tell me a little bit about how that come about, and maybe one day you can help me defeat that fear that I have of bees. So tell me a little bit about the farm.
Oh, so I've wanted to be a beekeeper since I was a little girl. I think that bees are the most extraordinary creatures. So my first degree is in mathematics, and I do spatial analysis of data. And if you want to spend some time with really great geometricians and trigonometricians, you need to spend time with bees. They are incredible in terms of how they build out their hives, but also if you go and spend time near I spent a lot of time near the hives and just observing them, right? And you see these lines that they come in on, right? Because they teach each other where the really good nectar sources are, where the good pollen sources are, and they use all kinds of geometry and trigonometry relative to the angle of the sun at the particular moment in time, both the day of the year and the time and the hour of the day, to give other bees directions. And they do this inside the hives doing something called a waggle dance. So dance, again, a theme here. Doing this waggle dance, right, where they're telling the other bees what the angles are to get to these sources. And remember, inside a hive, it's pitch black, right? There's no light in there. So they're doing these dances, and the way that the other bees are learning about it is by feeling their vibrations and sometimes actually feeling them, right? So they're great at spatial analysis. They're dancers, and I will point out that, women, the females, they're running the hive and making the honey and, getting it done. Now, in terms of your fear, I don't quite know what to say, as I am not a counselor. I've never ever felt any fear or hesitation, and the only time that I suit up is when we're stealing honey, right? When you're taking honey, because, as they should, if you're taking their honey, they'll get a little bit more aggressive, and they'll let off this alarm pheromone that tells the other bees in the hive, et cetera. And the interesting thing, my husband, who is retired, and honestly, he does a lot more of the work on the farm than I do, but I always say to people that, well, the bees like me better than they like Chris. And he has a hard time arguing with me because there's got to be some wood somewhere. I have never been stung by our bees.
Wow.
Never. They're it's like, we're just talking. We're just in communication. My husband has definitely been stung by bees.
Oh, you definitely vibrate with his mind.
So you can talk to him.
Yeah, I see.
Maybe he'll be able to.
He'll be able to tell me.
But you know what? You don't have. I can just give you some of our honey.
Very good.
And you don't have to become a beekeeper yourself.
You have to work for the honey. Good. Yeah, because I have to tell you that it was my first experience with bees was in Minnesota. and I got stung in my thumb, and I still remember that. And it was just, no, it was a bad experience, but I've overcome it.
I'm proud of
I
you.
think, but if there's bees coming, I'll run the other direction. So
Read this book called The Mind of a Bee, which is by a neuroecologist who looks at all of the things that bees can learn. They most recently discovered that if you put bees in the same research group, the author of this book, if you put bees in with beads, for those of you who read Science Magazine, they had a great video of this. You put bees in with these beads, round beads. The bees will climb on top of them and roll around like rolling around on the balls. So it's the first indication in an insect species that of play, right? And play is a higher, is a higher level of thinking. It's a higher level of emotion. So you can grow to love bees even if you don't spend a lot of time around them.
well, I'm going to definitely try. I am going to definitely try. The part about the play is what got me going, because I really, now that you say that play is related to higher level of learning, and I have to make sure I record that and I show it to my wife when I'm playing with my video games and all that. It's like, hey, this is a higher level of learning, so I have to be okay with that. So that's something that I'm going to say Dr. Miranda said, so she may be giving you a
Yeah, I
comment
would just
now.
like to say, in all conversations with your wife, the phrase Dr. Miranda said is forbidden.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to say Marilyn. So, very good. No, a little bit more of a serious question, I think. There's been, and you said in your remarks, the world has turned upside down a couple of times in the last few years with, of course, COVID-19. But you have been in places where disaster struck when you were in between the Hurricane Harvey in Rice in Houston, and then your role at Notre Dame through the pandemic. So you've been through this crisis, and we always knock on wood that there's no other crisis coming our way, but it's being a level-headed, had a steady hand in those periods of time, it's hard. But you have definitely been through these kinds of scenarios. So what have you learned when it comes in leading through crisis?
Yeah.
That we expect that you never have to do here at UIC, but this is a question they gave me, so I have to ask the questions.
Fair enough. So I think the very first thing that you have to do is to stop, take a breath, and think about your values. Because there's going to be information flying in from all kinds of different directions and people wanting to talk to you, but you have to have squarely set in your mind, what are my values and how am I going to use those values to drive decision making in this frenetic period? So that's the first thing. The second thing is you have to, and all of these things you have to do quickly, right, because it is a crisis. The second thing is you have to put yourself in a frame of mind where you understand that it's a dynamic situation, that things are going to change. If I would offer one criticism of the CDC and how it handled COVID-19, I think from the beginning there should have been much more messaging around the fact that it's a dynamic situation, things are changing, we have to be willing to adapt and be flexible and agile and change, right? So get yourself in a frame of mind that you're going to make a decision, and make decisions, and some of those decisions are going to be wrong, and you have to have the humility to reflect on, to reflect on that and make changes, admit your mistakes, and move on. Our big mistake at Notre Dame is that we didn't have good enough testing protocols in place before COVID-19, and we had a big fail at the beginning of the fall 2020 semester. Luckily, we adopted the University of Illinois technology, and that turned things around for us completely. And it kind of depends on what the nature of the crisis is. Mm-hmm. With Hurricane Harvey, the first and most important thing for us to do was to reach every member of our community and make sure they were physically safe, right? Because people could have been flooded, they could be in shelters. People died in Hurricane Harvey, right? So our first order of business was making sure that everyone in the community, we knew where everyone was, we knew that they were safe, and we quickly got a handle on what were the issues that we were dealing with. What had happened to their houses, what had happened to their vehicles, what was going on with their kids, and set up your series of services and the things that you're going to do in response to understanding what the community is going through and leveraging advanced information technologies to let you learn those things quickly. And I guess the last, you didn't mention this, but the last thing I'll mention is that our youngest child battled cancer when she was in high school, and there is nothing that changes your life so completely, so quickly than a diagnosis like that. And the ability to stay calm, keep your eye on the, on the direction that you're heading in, to be, so you're heading in a direction, but you're also reaching out laterally to all of the people in the family to make sure that, because you got to worry about your daughter who's sick, but you also got to worry about your other daughter and your son, and and all the other people in the family who are worried. And so that kind of understanding of you're moving in a direction, and you're moving in a direction, but you have to be looking around all the time to understand what all of the other people who are in community with you, how are they feeling? How are they making their way forward? What can you do to help them make their way forward?
Well, thank you for sharing those words of wisdom and your experiences, because I do know that in this day and age, especially when we're talking to students, when we're talking to some of our faculty and our staff, it's these stressful times really require the approach that you described, and I think you're going to find a lot of support for our students and for our staff and our faculty that takes that dimension, and it will take your leadership to help us grow it. As you know, the world needs it now, and we really, really appreciate that. Okay. But now, we're going to have a little bit of fun.
I thought we were having fun.
A little bit more fun. Okay. We're going to do a little bit of rapid-fire questions, and then I understand we're going to turn them around as well. So we're going to have rapid questions coming my way. So there's no right or wrong answer in this one, except for one that I don't know. You're going to make one mad, or depends on what you decide on that one. But let's actually start this with, it's similar to what most of us have done over the past few years, is what is the last show that you binged and loved?
Suits.
Suits?
And there's an actor in Suits. He plays Rachel's father, Wendell Pierce, and he's a friend of mine all the way back to when we were both 17. And he's an African-American Shakespearean-trained actor, went through Juilliard, and he's now playing Willie Loman on Broadway. He's the first African-American actor to play Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman, and I'm going to see him perform on Tuesday when I'm in New York.
Nice.
So, but he's one of the characters in that show. It's fun.
That's awesome. Awesome. Very good. Now, what's your favorite movie?
Hands down, The Blues Brothers.
Nice.
Love it. Love it.
And I'm sure all of you know that we're standing in a place where a lot of the Blues Brothers was recorded, right outside here. So there's a famous one there in the car going right out here. So this is definitely like I said, homecoming. You could not have chosen a better place to be than here. So now, tell us a concert you will never forget. And I'll add a premium to that one, and why you won't forget it.
Okay. So I know I'm supposed to talk about a concert I went to when I was young, but about 3 or 4 years ago, I went with my younger daughter to Bruno Mars, and it was, if you ever have a chance to see Bruno Mars in concert, you got to do it, because number one, the dancing is amazing. I love Bruno Mars's music as well, but you look around the audience at a Bruno Mars concert. So there's great music playing, and there's great dancing, and you're up on your feet and you're dancing, and then you look around and you realize there are people from every possible background in this room, of all different races, all different ethnicities. There are young people, there are old people, there were people of all kinds of different abilities, and they were all just there in community, listening to that music, moving their bodies to that music, and loving, loving what Bruno was delivering. And it was just amazing. And then I had really good seats, and at one point or another, my daughter was sitting next to me. At one point or another, Bruno Mars pointed right at my daughter, and my daughter was like, oh. So it was a great concert.
That's awesome.
Really fun.
The best part, I mean, you were there with your daughter. That's incredible. That's
Yeah.
really nice.
And my daughter was willing to go to a concert with me. Like,
Yes.
wow.
Yes.
This is my daughter who's a senior in high school, senior in college, and who recently told me that she wanted to spend spring break with the family, with all of her siblings and her parents. So we're all going to Florida for spring break. We're all going to Florida for spring break.
That's awesome. Now we know where we find you in Florida.
That's right.
Spring break. So now, this is one that this is the tricky one in Chicago. Is it the Chicago Cubs or the White Sox?
So, my son, Thompson, was a Division I athlete, and he was a pitcher. And I love baseball, so I can't choose. I can't choose yet. I'm an equal opportunity baseball game attender, so I'm ready.
I can tell you that there's a couple of people in the audience that will be inviting you to some of the games, and they will try to make sure that you go to one or the other one first and claim you for it. So
Okay.
be careful which one's the first one that gets there. Now, there's
Maybe I should go to the crosstown game first.
Or you can go to when UIC goes to watch these games, and then you can just wear the UIC gear, and it's like, UIC brought me here.
There you go.
So there's an easy, now that will buy you maybe 6 months before people start asking you again. So, just so you know. But now another hard question, I think. It's thin or thick crust pizza?
Thin.
Thin. No question. Very good. Oh, this one's ketchup on hot dogs or not?
So I prefer mustard on my hot dogs. You. And I am also one of these really horrible people. So you know how there's this new health thing about ketchup that doesn't have any sugar in it, and most people think it tastes wretched? I love that stuff. So now that it's freely available, so if there isn't that type of ketchup, which there never is, except at my house, and my husband gets really upset if he accidentally uses it.
Oh. Very good. So, interesting one. Because I don't think you have a lot of choice in this one for the moment, but it's freezing winters or scorching summers.
Oh, C, both of the above, because weather is just something that you dress for.
Nice, nice. You did say that you love snow.
I do love snow.
So why this? What part of snow you like? I mean.
Oh, so first of all, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Secondly, it stills the landscape. Whether you're in a city or out in the country, it stills the landscape in a way that, we can all hear ourselves think, we can all hear, feel our hearts beat, and I think that is just so good for us. I also love the fact that no two snowflake crystalline structures are the same. The mathematician in me just loves the notion of all of those different permutations. And I love, people then always ask me, oh, so do you like snow sports? And I'm like, yes, I love sledding. I like just going down a hill on a sled is about as much fun as I think it is possible to have. We have 2 dogs. Our 2 dogs do not like it when we sled. They run along beside us, barking. I think they're yelling, human, stop doing that. So.
I have to say, I do like snow, but I didn't get to live in snow until to see snow until I was 24. Mm-hmm. Right, so all the sports in snow to me is sledding. There's no other sport. I mean, I don't know what people talk about snowboarding, all that. I was too old to try something new. So, But now, a tricky one as well. What's on your nightstand right now?
Oh, so I just finished reading How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith, and it's really good that I just finished reading it because I just got to meet Clint Smith on 2 days ago, and it's a wonderful book where he travels to various sites across the United States and also to Goree Island that were important to enslaved people and the institution of slavery. And so I just finished reading that and a novel by Elizabeth Strout. And now the two books that are with me here are this book by Lavoie and Czech called Misconceiving Merit, which is about sort of our failure to be sufficiently open in the way that we bring all people from all kinds of different backgrounds into science and engineering education. And then Gino Diaz's book, This Is How We Lose Her. So.
Oh, very nice. So no night lamps or anything on your nightstand?
No what?
Not night lamps or anything, just books?
Just books, yeah.
Okay. Very good, very good. Like that. It's funny, when you ask that question, I always gravitate to books. I don't know what I'm going to say if she asks me that question, so we'll figure that out in a second, I think. Now, what is an ordinary moment in your life that brings you great joy?
An ordinary moment in my life that brings me great joy, sitting down at dinner, either with my family or with friends, and breaking bread with people. It's we have such rush, hustle, bustle lives that again, that notion of, taking the time to slow all the way down and look around and be appreciative of the people you were sitting with.
I'll answer that question if you ask me, and I'll reserve my answer for that one. But I do think that is one more question before we turn it around, and I'm trying to buy as much time because she told me she's going to make me nervous when she asks me questions. So trying to make sure that she doesn't have enough time to do it, but I think I'm running out of time on that. So I'll ask my last question, and it's, what is the one thing you're deeply grateful for right now?
My children's health.
Very good. So now we're going to turn it the other way around because it was not a fair thing that I would be only one asking questions. So she's going to go on a rapid fire questioning as well. So we'll see how I do on this one. So
all right.
So remember,
ready?
She's my new boss. So very good. So I'm ready.
Soccer or baseball?
Soccer.
What's your favorite soccer team?
Las Águilas del América.
Okay. Mexico City or Chicago?
Mexico City. It gave me life.
That's not at all controversial here.
And I just took the president to Mexico City, and I gave him it was, you have to admit, it was quite the tour because I don't know how they chose. The restaurant we had dinner at was where it was my junior high graduation.
Oh.
So,
Yep.
it was
Okay.
special.
Who's your favorite musician?
Well, I don't have a favorite musician. I have a favorite rock band.
Okay.
It's U2.
Okay. And now I'm going to ask some questions that will help me.
Okay.
What's your favorite restaurant here in Chicago?
Suco.
Okay.
It's a Mexican fusion restaurant. It's phenomenal. But I have to say, he's not here, but I don't know if Dr. Benedetti and Fadi are here, but if you want to go for restaurants, make sure that you ask those two as well as Dr. Barish.
Okay.
Oh boy, they have really nice places to go.
Okay. And when you are just going to kick back and have a little bit of fun, what do you do here?
Well, it depends. If the weather is nice outside, we'd really like to go walking and visit the museums. That I really enjoy. If the weather is not cooperating, I do have a hobby that is playing video games. So I will play video games for a couple of hours, maybe half a day. Depends on how my wife decides to call it quits. So
So when, when my son was young, he came back from a friend's house, and they had a PlayStation, and he came back to our house and asked, could we get a PlayStation? And I looked at him and I said, no. And he looked at me and he said, that's no like forever no, isn't it? I said, yeah. So we won't be able to, we'll do all kinds of other things together,
Oh, yes.
but we won't be able to play video games together.
Don't worry. I mean,
I'll bring my son
I'll
in
call
as
your
my-
son.
I'll bring my son in as my ringer.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. So what other question do you have?
Which season of the year do you enjoy the most?
I would say the holiday season, Christmas, is the one that I enjoy the most. And I think it has something to do with going back to Mexico City. That's when we get to go see our family. And I have to also say why Mexico City is, I mean, all my family, my wives and my family are in Mexico, Mexico City. So there's that pull. So
Yeah.
Christmas is when we get to see them. And don't tell Maritza, but I do think that my mother-in-law loves me more than her. So all the phenomenal cooking that I get to choose,
Yeah.
so it's the best part. The best part.
Mother-in-laws are like that. I'm pretty sure my mother loves my husband more. So tell us more about that. What are some of the traditions that your family celebrates?
One of the things is in Spanish is pedir posada. So it's when you go out and you're singing and you're really representing when the Mary and Joseph were trying to find a place where they can have baby Jesus, and there's a singing that goes, and there's a whole set of walking with the candles, and I remember doing that with my family since I was very little. And of course, the best part is after you're done with that, then you can break the piñata and the posada. So that was the fun part that I was always waiting. Can we do the singing so I can go hit the piñata? That was the fun part. And the other thing that I really love, in Mexico, you really celebrate from December 12th to January 6th. We call it the Guadalupe Reyes Marathon. Guadalupe King, the Virgin Guadalupe and the wise men coming in the 6th. So from the 12th to the 6th, it's just a party, party, get together and gathering with everyone in your family. So those are the traditions that are very special.
Yep. And what have you been reading lately?
Well, when you ask me what I've been reading lately, I've been reading a lot of sports memorabilia. I like to read about sports memorabilia. I like to read facts on sports. And when I do reading on the books, I'm reading right now books on Chicago. There's one about Mayor Daley, that it's about the empire that he built. That is the one that I'm reading because I need to catch up with my history of Chicago. So.
Yeah, I got I'll have to get your advice on histories of Chicago. I got a couple of books that I'm reading, including there's an anthology of chapters written by UIC faculty. I have it. It's I'm blanking on the title of the book, but I'm looking forward to reading that. So,
Yeah.
What's your? See, I don't have cards, so I can't.
No, those are your cards.
I know, but they're the same question,
Yeah.
right? The weather thing: freezing winters or scorching summers.
I like the winters better than the scorching summer, especially when I have to wear a tie. That's just.
Yeah, I hate it when I have to wear a tie.
I bet you do. I'm telling you, that's the hardest part is to walking across a campus with wearing a tie and just the weather. When it's cold, it actually acts like a wetsuit. It just keeps you warm. You can make it 10 minutes across the quad for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people when it got, when it got cold, I heard a lot of people talking about how they keep this was at the height of COVID, how they keep their masks on even when they're outside because it helps keep them warm. So thin or thick crust pizza?
I would say thin crust.
Okay, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
I'm with you.
Nice. Now don't say it out loud, we're a Pepsi campus. So, oh wait, we're mic'd? I'm sorry.
Oops.
Oops. Can we rewind the tape and do another take on that one?
What place in the United States would you most like to visit that you haven't seen yet?
I would say Mount Rushmore.
Oh,
I have not seen Mount Rushmore. That's one that I want to go see.
yeah.
Yeah.
So right around there is the South Dakota Badlands, which are incredible.
Yeah.
So,
How about you? What places in the U.S. you would like to go visit?
so I have been to 48 of the 50 states, and the two that I haven't been to are Oklahoma, which is embarrassing that I lived in Texas for so long and I never went to, I mean, I could have just gotten in a car, driven for an hour and come back and say, and North Dakota. And I understand, so I've been to a lot of different places in the United States, and I understand that the Badlands in North Dakota are, people say, they're all from North Dakota, so that the Badlands in North Dakota are even more stunning than the Badlands in South Dakota.
Oh.
So I want to go see those.
Well, you never know where President Kalin will take us, but now you know we want to go to a couple of places.
Yeah, there we go.
But now I think, I'm sorry that we're going to have to wrap it up, but first of all, I just want to say what a privilege it has been to have this conversation with you and to start working with you in a very, very open way, and confidence and trusting and knowing that you like Coke more than Pepsi and cross pizza, so that will be good. But I do wanted to do one last thing, and it was introduce our trustee student, Mohammed Haq, who will give some remarks and also present to you a gift. But we're so happy you're here. Welcome home.
Yep.
Welcome to UIC. And we're thrilled that you're here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, there it is. I think I've been told that I'm all that's between you and lunch, so I'll keep this brief. So, first of all, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here today and to have the privilege of welcoming our new Chancellor, Dr. Miranda, to UIC. I had the chance to speak with her before coming on stage with the other student leaders and could tell that the effects of a flame's welcome is already setting in just fine. That welcome is a testament to the commitment from my peers, from UIC's distinguished faculty and administration to increase the level of engagement and sense of community at a historically majority commuter campus. When I was first informed about Dr. Miranda's potential to be our next chancellor, I was intrigued. UIC is unlike any other university, and I admittedly held high standards to whoever was going to fill the position. Upon reviewing Dr. Miranda's background and listening to her lay out her goals and vision for our institution, I can say that she exceeded all expectations, and I could not be more excited to have her come on board. Her unique experience as provost at the University of Notre Dame and background in mathematics and toxicology, which I believe you're self-taught in, correct? Yep, makes her exceptionally qualified to connect with our tremendous student body, faculty, as well as oversee our UI health operations, a cornerstone of UIC's identity. As we look to integrate Dr. Miranda to our committee, I look forward to the continuation of the meaningful working collaboration between the Chancellor's office and student leaders across campus. As UIC students prepare to graduate, we face critical challenges in addressing important issues such as social injustice and the erosion of our democratic institutions. The UIC committee believes in taking on these challenges and meeting them with our finest talent. In fact, the idea of addressing these important issues head-on together is exactly the approach Dr. Miranda emphasized during her candidacy, and it's why I was delighted to see her firm mindset in cultivating our campus with dialogue and resources, but not before taking the appropriate time to learn more about who we are and where our strengths and needs lie. As said by Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., a genuine leader is not a searcher of consensus, but rather a molder of consensus. I'm confident that Dr. Miranda will be a catalyst for UIC's continued growth in the years ahead. Dr. Miranda, I know you will lead us well. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the UIC family. Thank you so much. This is for you.
Swag. So the next order of the day is, it's the luncheon, but before we leave, I just want to say, I know that it is UIC's homecoming, but this has very much felt like a homecoming for me as well, so thank you for that.